Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast, where we have come out of the back of a good draw that feels incredibly disappointing. But we'll discuss that one today. Was it a good point or was it 2 points dropped? We're also going to go over your questions before jumping into our Brighton preview. So let's start where we always do. Let's start with the draw at Everton, shall we? Deej, what did you make of the game?
I mean, it was a classic game, Tottenham game on the road. I think we probably didn't create as much as we would have if we had all of our options available to us. Richarlison scored 2 brilliant goals. Shout out to him for continuing to get better. I feel like I say that every week, and may I continue to say it into the foreseeable future. And then, I mean, this isn't going to be the most in-depth analysis in the world, but Vicario has a problem on corners because someone gets stuck on Vicario, pushes Vicario to the side, and because that's just not getting called, we are expecting that to get called, and it is causing us to give up way more goal-scoring chances off of corners than we would otherwise. So we need to do what Brentford did in the game yesterday, where it doesn't even need to be a larger body, but Neil Maupay, when Ruben Diaz went to go bother Flecken on a corner, Neil Maupay just went and made his life miserable, as we know very well Neil Maupay is well equipped to do. So we just need someone to do that. We need someone to, if someone goes and puts a body on Vicario, we need to create a situation where the referee has to step in or the person steps off Vicario.
Do you agree, Si? Was it a foul on Vicario in your eyes? And does he need to be protected?
I think so. I think they're two different questions. Was it a foul? I think that was it a clear and obvious error? I don't know. I think if it was given against us, we would say it's harsh. I think if Richarlison scores a header on the back of Romero backing in to that extent, it's not, for me. It wasn't harsh enough. I don't think. I think the point that DJ is making there. Listen, put someone in between. Vicario looked a little bit exposed against Man City. Put someone in between if you think that's what's going to happen, and they did it. They did it multiple times before that goal. So, I mean, it's not like it wasn't coming. But to your point, Jim, I think it's a decent away draw that feels like it should have been a decent away win for me. I think there were times where we played some good football. I think the 2 Richarlison goals were lovely, and I thought he'd scored an own goal, the second goal he scored, because of the total lack of celebration. I thought he'd had a nervous breakdown. But they were 2 lovely goals, well worked, some good football in between. But I think it shows that we were a little bit bullied in midfield, I think. I think that our midfield was overrun at times. And I think there was a stat that they had 18 turnovers in our third of the field, which is the highest of any Premier League side this season, which shows what they set out to do. Right, they set out to put us under pressure, and if you look at the heat maps, our heat maps going forward are all green in the Everton third. Most of the play was in the centre third and our third of the game. So that sort of shows you where our possession was, and I think that maybe we're all over expecting on the players returning, just slotting back into being worldies in game 1 and 2. When if you think about it, Maddison's had quite some time out. He's going to take some time to get back into running. And Bentancur has pretty much had the whole year out, right? And how many games has he had under Ange? 2 or 3 games now, So we know it takes a while for players to get used to the style that Ange wants to play. Is it surprising that we're looking still a little bit, that we're found wanting a little bit in the middle of the park? I don't think so. But then you got players that had outstanding games, like Mickey van der Ven had an absolute blinding game yesterday. It shows what we were missing when he was out. We've let in 2 goals from scrappy, bullied set pieces. And I think Van der Ven got us out of trouble a few times, which he does, and that's what he's there for, right? But I think there were 3 tackles in total where he just put on the afterburners, and it was like, you're not going anywhere, mate. You might as well just give up.
So, fastest player in the league, isn't he?
I think that was the Sky stat that went up. So overall, I think a point away to Everton is not a bad point, but I think conceding the way that we did in the final moments means that it feels disappointing. But I would rather watch that than some of the dross that we were watching at the back end of last season. And you can still see that there's a desire to play the way that Ange wants to play. And you can still see that there's something there. And it's only 23 games into his tenure, for God's sake. And we've had loads of players out. And we're still fifth, by the way.
Yeah, and only 7 points off top.
Exactly.
With 3 home games to come. So, yeah. And like you said on the midfield, it's pretty crazy when you think, of course we're going to get bullied there, when there's our best 4 midfielders, I know they don't all play the same role in midfield, are probably Maddison, Bentancur, Bissouma and Sarr. Not a single one of those was fully fit or available. Like, they were either unavailable or not fit. So You're going to your 5th and 6th midfield option. It's not surprising. There's a stat, I steal this from Rule the Roost, Jack on there, but he was he had the numbers behind it, and Højbjerg's, our win percentage with Højbjerg starting a game. Does anyone know what it is?
Very low. It's like a 12% or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 18%
Is it, yeah.
win percentage, and it goes up to something like 70% when he hasn't played. Now, of course, that doesn't factor in loads of other things. That's implying you've got injuries and all that kind of stuff. But it's still, I thought that was a pretty damning one. But Johnny, what did you make of, I want to pick out Richie and Maddison in particular, of that game?
I mean, I guess we're all just, assume that we're all just incredibly relieved as much as delighted with the development of Richarlison. I think the biggest thing is just the way that he's playing with such confidence now, and I think that the shots that he's taking on are really representative of that instinctive kind of play. You know yourself, with the best strikers, they don't really think too much. They know where the goals are. They back themselves. They don't need too much space or too much time. And even against Brentford, there was a shot that he took. I can't remember, I think it was in the second half, but maybe not. But was maybe just tipped over the bar. It was like a kind of a sunny kind of a shot, and he did the same thing with his goal. Was very much a sunny type goal, wasn't it? The second one, but even the finish for the first goal, just like beautiful sort of adjustment of his body, tilting, opening his body and hitting into space. Really, he made it look a lot easier than I think it was. And I think that's massive when we're obviously a lot of the narrative at the moment talking ahead of the summer, and even looking back in the previous window, we're looking at what are we going to do? Is the sort of striker something that's a priority? And clearly, Richarlison's form and consistency and so on hasn't really been a thing. And some of us who had a bit more belief in them, as I think I was fairly loyal to him, but I just definitely not piss off his true side. But
no,
in fairness,
I'm talking about me. I've been the skeptic. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough, because you were. But and you're entitled. You're entitled to be, pal. You're entitled to be, but he wasn't getting a run of games, was he? And then obviously he had a lot of other things going on in his personal life and stuff. And but at the beginning of this season, I was really starting to have major doubts. And I think that the kind of I think going through looking ahead to the summer, I know there was a bit of a discussion today on the WhatsApp group about what it means, and if Villiers can get something out of his stint in Sevilla, maybe it's definitely not the number one priority. But if Richarlison can keep doing what he's doing now, what are you going to do? You're just going to have to replace him with somebody who's not used to the system and isn't in the vein of form that he is. So I guess what I suppose I would like to hope maybe this is suggestive of is looking at the situation with Werner, and much more so with Johnson, are understandable tendencies to be judging them, and in particular Johnson. And some people are, and again, understandably, with a sequence of really pretty disappointing results, and him not making the impact or the start that we would hoped he might. Could we just maybe look at it with the perspective of factoring in the potential for him to reach what he's more capable of doing within a time frame that's acceptable, whatever that might be. I just think that we're too quick to condemn Richarlison, and I think there are other players who are really struggling at the moment. And I was sort of surprised that Johnson played because he did well when he came off the bench against Brentford, but I don't really know if benching Kulusevski was the right decision for this game or not. But you can sort of see at the beginning of the game, the pace on both the flanks was kind of a scary prospect. And there was a little glimpses of it making a difference. Like Werner, I think it was quite important in the first goal, playing in a doggy. But that really there was didn't he have a 1-on-1 not too long after that, which he totally bottled, really no conviction. And then there was another one when there was a Johnson cross, which was actually really good, and he totally, I want to say, pulled out of it. Like it was his every day of the week. And he let the Everton lad, whoever it was, get to the ball first. It's like, it's just the difference between a player who's really believing in themselves and just going for it and not hesitating, and someone who's like got all these doubts in their head, and it's just very frustrating.
Yeah. Starting to wonder if it's doubts or just simply playing style and ability as well. Like, but anyway, the Richie one's interesting. Like, I love seeing our fan base being like, "Well, should we upgrade him now?" I'm like, good luck upgrading him.
Yeah.
He gets 15 to 20 goals next season.
Yeah.
Ollie Watkins, who was worth like 80 to 100 million, scored 15 goals last season. Like, the only people to go beyond 20 goals were Harry Kane and Erling Haaland. Sorry, folks, we're not signing anyone like that. Even if we had 200 million to spend, you're probably only looking at Mbappe, who might have a shot of doing that.
Yeah.
So if he finishes the season with 15 plus goals, despite that injury at the first third of the year, which ruled out those games, we're looking at a 20 goal a season striker. Find one.
Mbappe's a no, right? Are we just ruling that out?
At the moment, Real Madrid are in there, but we're trying to sneak in. I think we can't offer the wages, but he has.
We undone Barcelona on that kid, didn't we? So you never know, Jim. You never know.
He has got free Skywalk tickets for life and a lifetime pass to the go-kart track. So
boom, gets in.
Might be able to win away. But Stu, from your perspective there, so the 2 bits leading on from Johnny's, where's your head with this couple of guys you mentioned here, Johnson, but also Kulusevski at the moment? Divisive topics.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think either of them have been good enough in recent games. Kulu, the start of the season, he was kind of almost undroppable because he was the one doing the runs, keeping the ball. But he hasn't been that player for a few games now. And Johnson, I still think we need to learn from past mistakes about writing players off. We're talking about Richie. I remember Jim and I were very much in the Richie's going to score 15 goals this season, so I just want to underline that again. I was beginning to waver, I have to admit, prior to his operation. But it just goes to show he had the same operation Sonny had, and Sonny, since the operation's been brilliant. Richie's the same. So, let's wait. Son didn't have a great start to his career with Spurs, and, let's see how Johnson does. I just think we need to be patient. We need to give them time. He joined, he got injured straight away. He's been in a side that's been, chopping and changing every single game. You never know who he's going to line up with. I just think we need to be patient. Let's not write him off. But we do need a lot more goal threat. I think we said it at the start when we sold Kane. We don't need to replace Kane with a 30-goal-a-season striker. We need someone who scores 15 to 20. We need goal threats from the left and the right. And at the moment, we're not getting those goals from the left and the right. And I think that's where either they need to step up, or that's something I think we need to address in the summer. And I think the big question is, what happens to Son? Is he going to be a striker? And if so, then we definitely need someone on the left who's going to add goals. And we don't need to add another striker. Or is he going to stay on the left? And then we do need to bring in another striker. Because I also think this idea that Veliz is going to go out and have 6 months in Spain and all of a sudden he's going to be ready at 19 years old. Just like people are like, Bergvall's, as promising as he looks in the Swedish league, is going to be this amazing, number 8 for his next season. He's going to be breaking all records. And Divine, people are already saying he should be in the squad and ready. Guys, these are kids. These are 18, 19-year-olds. They're not ready. We need to, I think, in my opinion, address with some proper first-team players in the summer.
Agree. It's you'd think though Sonny is going to be starting on the left wing. You're going to have Richarlison up front, so I'm not concerned about those two because you'd bring on Werner as like a 70th minute personal, and so that feels like it's stable enough. It's that right hand side where you're thinking, at the moment, of course, he could turn a corner. Johnson doesn't look like someone who's going to score more than 10 goals in a season.
No. Solomon to come back as well.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Solomon. He got injured very early in his career with us. You know, what was he? 4 games in before the injury?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he feels more like your third choice when, you know, Sonny's having to play up front because Richarlison's injured or Sonny's injured, and you need to. But who knows?
We need to give him a try first.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Before making that assumption. But
what?
Get out.
Sorry.
You mentioned, Stu, that the same surgery, Son and Richarlison. That same a similar procedure.
Well, I mean, they never actually said what he did, but I remember Son coming out at the time saying that he advised Richie to get the operation. He was suffering from the same issue that he was last season. So I just presumed it's the same. And they've both been, since surgery, both been electric again.
Like get them all in.
Exactly.
Get them all to have the surgery.
Whether they need it or not.
Just get them in. Get them under the knife. Yeah. Is there anything else he wants to add on the Everton game before we dive into questions?
I just wanted to, obviously, as someone who's been big upping Vic, I think he was at fault for both goals. I think he needs to be braver. I think in the first goal, for the last 20, 25 years, that's been given as a foul. So from that perspective, I don't really blame him in the sense that he just thinks, because he didn't even jump for the ball. He just backed into him. And I think if you compare that to the Man City winner against Liverpool, which was disallowed against Alisson, which was less of a foul than this one, there's a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
But I do think Vic needs to man up. And especially that second goal, I was disappointed that he didn't throw himself at it. He seemed kind of slow. And
he shouldn't get beat on his goal line, Stu.
Exactly.
He shouldn't get beat at the post on his goal line. He should go straight through, Braithwaite.
Yeah, that was my thinking. I thought he should have just been brave and dived at it rather than kind of being apprehensive.
But he is a lump, no, Braithwaite, isn't he?
I can see Deej thinking now, and I do want to pass this one to him to I think he might have a counter to that. But I'm kind of a little bit softer on him in the sense that I think people look at the build of Vicario and go, oh, I reckon I could push him around a bit. And then it's very easy to just excuse it on, oh, he looks lightweight. Like, I don't think if someone was doing that to Alisson, I think more times than not, people would be calling it up as a foul and saying, come on, you can't do that. But they wouldn't target him in the first place. I think there's just a bit of like, this is going to become a thing that all goalkeepers start getting targeted like this. And we go through the spell of goals going in left, right and centre from this foul. And then Tottenham have been the reason behind another rule change.
I don't think it's necessary. I agree with you, but I don't think it's just necessarily just the goalkeeper. I think we get treated differently across the park. If you look at the way we get bullied, the fouls that refs let go on us, which if they did against Man City, etc., wouldn't get called.
Also, that rugby tackle in the box as well, in the first, I think it was the first half. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think it was, I can't remember if it got thrown to the ground, but it was almost a pick up and throw down. It's like anywhere else on the pitch, that's a foul. So if that's not a foul, and I'm contradicting myself a little bit here then. So if the backing into the keeper's not a foul, that's a massive foul. He picks him up and throws him to the ground at a corner, and it's like the refs have got to start giving that, and then it will stop.
Yeah.
You start giving penalties left, right, and centre. That will stop in weeks because the managers will be like, just don't fucking do it.
Yeah. But when you can exploit something, people are going to exploit it.
Exactly.
God, sorry.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I there's a question on this, so I guess we'll talk about it now instead of later. But I kind of said a little bit about what I think we should do, and that's just as soon as someone touches Vicario, just send our most annoying player, probably Richarlison, honestly. And just tell that person to, in no uncertain terms, to screw off. Want to keep our monetization, so I'm not going to say the word I thought of at first. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this call is like Sai mentioned, this has been a call for the last 15, 20 years, and I don't think it's unreasonable for Vicario to expect that call gets made. Again, I think that, like, we had the whole thing a couple years ago where Kane was like the worst player in the league because he would back into players, and like that was certainly questionable from him. Now that he's gone, I can say that, but it's crazy that we're having people do that to our goalkeeper in the box, and now everyone's like, "Oh, it's fine." And to speak to Stu, I don't think necessarily I think we get treated differently, but not because we're Tottenham, it's because of the way that we play. I think that because of our high line, I think every foul is stopping a counter, more or less, or at least that's how it can be interpreted. And so we are more likely to be given yellow cards. I can't speak as to why some of these fouls aren't given at all. I do think that the biggest one I have an issue with of anything was Norgard's tackle on Brennan Johnson last week when he was on a yellow. Clearly stopping a a counter, and then given nothing because if he got called for a foul, it would have been a.
Yeah. Oh, and talking of unfairness there, like as I think Stu had mentioned, like if a Spurs player had dived like Godfrey had, oh my God, we would never hear the end of it. That was
the most blatant dive I've seen in a good long while that you could tell just from watching play. That was far more obvious than even Bissouma's. And Bissouma got sent off. Why is it different? Why is it different that Bissouma got sent off? Honestly, we know why it's different that Bissouma got sent off. It was a makeup call from the game before. That I am 100%. I believe that. But I don't think that would happen to us if we got called today. I think if Bissouma dived to next game on a yellow, I don't think Bissouma gets sent off again. But I do think it's absolutely ridiculous that they pick, like, of all of the rules, that one that they never, like, keep anywhere consistent. Yeah. It's in a rule, and then no one follows it except for the one time that the Tottenham player does it on a yellow. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like you say, I think there is, but there is also going back to the Kane comment again, where he used to back into players and do that. That bloody Harry Kane done it again. If that's Burnley doing that, everyone goes, sorry, if it's Everton doing that, everyone goes, classic Sean Dyche, cheeky bugger. Like, yeah, he's just playing the game, pushing into goalkeepers and his players failing injuries, just part of it. But it's us.
It's like Ange said at the start of the season when they were talking about the VAR and everything else and the rules. He said, I guarantee you give me a set of rules, I'll find a way around them. Every manager, that's what every manager does. You give me the rules, we'll push it to the limit. Because that's what we do. This is why managers should not have opinions on referees and decisions.
Agree. So we'll jump into the other questions, shall we? I know we've touched on one there already, but Johnny, I'll start with you, mate. This one's from Top Div, Richard Poole on Twitter. Top Div
to the other
with his lovely greyhound. Did our current transfer policy of buying younger players cause us a problem against Everton? We'd usually bring it on Højbjerg to see out a game, but with him starting and then coming off, along with Bentancur and Maddison, our subs are all under 23. I think what he's saying here is this a downside of our priority of signing younger players recently? Is that a negative to it?
I think that's a bit unfair because we conceded off of a corner, and you can be any age and concede off a corner. I think, like we've said, kind of like we've spoken ad nauseum, I think we just have a little bit of problems with our defensive corners, especially, I mean, obviously, mostly with making sure that Vicario isn't manhandled.
Wait, where are we going with this? I was asking about transfer signings. You tell me about corners, mate.
Yeah, because I'm saying that you can be 20, you can be 30, you can be 40.
I see.
The ball gets swung into the box, your keeper gets taken out, and then the ball goes in. That's nothing. No amount of age is gonna make a difference there. I do think, like I said, I am a little bit not suspect, but it does seem like the unfortunate reality of the players that we started, with the exception of Kulusevski, who obviously then went on to make the tackle that led to the second goal, is when we bring off our starting midfield, we lose basically any ability to go forward, because I don't think, like I said, anyone that we bring on in the midfield outside of Kulusevski, if he gets brought on centrally, is absolutely not hopeless, but is fairly not great at bringing the ball forward. That's yeah.
I'm going to pass the next question to Johnny, and then I'll leave it to you, Deej, to pick up the questions on YouTube. That's right, for part 2 of the pod and the Brighton, not Brighton, Brighton preview. It is the Brighton preview. Yes, but regardless, this is from Senu. Sean Yu, sorry, I can't pronounce your handle. But anyway, regardless of whether we did or didn't get what we deserved, I'm still bitter about Bakari. Okay, that's not a question. Johnny, this one's for you. Salsa Sniper says, do you think Madders can toughen up a bit instead of rolling on the ground when he gets a paper cut? And with that one, Johnny,
I think he can do it? Thanks, Jim. Good to see you, man. Look after yourself. I don't really know what I'm supposed to say to that, because there's the Premier League has got most, let's say 90% of Premier League footballers are an embarrassment when it comes to their antics. And I think we talked about quite a while ago, talking about, how do you deal with this? Because unfortunately, they can do whatever they like. They get away with it. There's talking about inconsistencies and refereeing. Even the sort of gamesmanship you've got with kicking the ball away. What constitutes something that's worthy of a yellow card? That's again quite open to the interpretation from the refs, because you see stuff all the time when they're knocking the ball, like Saka did one yesterday. I know it would have been really harsh if he'd got it, but I've seen other players getting booked when you sort of do the back heel, and it's the same with people who are diving and making a meal and holding the wrong part of their anatomy when they've been hit in a completely different location. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's embarrassing, but I don't think Maddison particularly. He is guilty of it, yeah, and there's a lot of other players that are. So, but is it impacting on his performance? I don't really think so. Would I wave a magic wand and get rid of the whole shenanigans in one fell swoop? Absolutely, because it's just, this is one of the things that people who criticize football or they don't get football, they can throw at you and you can't argue with them because it's correct. You look at any other sport really where there's a bit of physicality involved, and rugby is the most obvious one, I guess, in our part of the world, what they can deal with and what they get up, and it's just, these are the same species. It doesn't look like the same species. Maddison is is as bad as some of them, but I don't really think it's particularly, I don't really know. Just that they're all embarrassment, aren't they? Is it really making a difference the way he plays though? No, I don't think so. So
no, I don't think so.
I don't really think it's just an issue because he's one of a million others that are doing the same thing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. And if everyone had their way, their team would be the one to play honestly and nobly and win anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not what happens. The teams that write the most complaints to the refereeing association are the teams that get the most calls. That's just a fact. If Ange instead of doing this whole I don't really like VAR, but I'm gonna respect what the referees say on the field, and instead had gone with something more like, the referees are cheating us out of games. I'm writing a decision. Every time we get a decision against us, we are going to create a environment that is so toxic for the referees that they will be forced to give us decisions. Then the referees would probably give them more decisions, because we've seen that happen. It's just human nature. That's what you want to do in that situation. So diving is kind of an extension of that. It's playing a game outside of the game to try to get the referee to give you what you want. And as much as I hate it, I'd hate it more if we never did it. and every other team did it to us. We don't do it as often as I think some other teams do, but maybe that's just me having fan goggles. I don't know. But honestly, at this point, it's like, hey, at least we're bending the rules a little bit because everyone else is. Like Johnny mentioned, if we don't dive, we're playing at a disadvantage, which I hate. It's my least favorite part of the game. I wish that yellow card rule that we complained about being given to Bissouma earlier, I wish that was actually given to everybody, because I wish that garbage would be cut out of this game. And I wish that I honestly wish we could give retroactive VAR yellows for diving specifically.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much more I want VAR involved in the game. But yeah, I guess Science, dude, do you guys have anything to add? Any thoughts on diving, bending the rules?
Not really.
Cheating the refs.
Again, part of the game that's it riles you when someone runs past and brushes against someone. It's like they've been shot from row Z. Do you know what I mean? It's the sort of thing that doesn't even spill a pint in your hand when you get knocked to in the pub, and they'll throw themselves to the floor for it. But the flip side of Maddison's game is he gets a lot of free kicks in and around the box, and that's not through diving, but that's through the ref's understanding that the way that he plays, sometimes he will buy a foul, and it might not be a dive, but it might not be quite the foul that it seems, but we wouldn't want that taken out of his game. So do I hate the rolling around and play acting and the simulation? 100%. Do I quite like the dark arts of the game where if you get a clip, you go down a little bit heavier than normal, maybe to get a free kick on the edge of the box? Then that's just the game. Don't make the challenge defender if you're going to do that. There's two sides to that coin for me. But out-and-out simulation, the only way you're going to get rid of that is by out-and-out diving simulation to get a penalty send-off, not even a yellow card. Straight red for that type of behaviour.
I wish.
The other thing, though, is like you've got sorry, Stu. You remember when Bale? I don't know if it was his last season or the second last season, but he was. Remember, there's the whole thing. Like as Spurs fans, we say he's going at such a rate of knots that a small bit of contact and he's going down. And I still subscribe to that opinion. But there were after a not particularly long period in spotlight, he wasn't getting much, was he, from referees? And I think that Maddison the other day was fouled genuinely from recollection, and he didn't get the free kick. And I think that I suppose that's the negative aspect too, if you are kind of getting yourself a reputation.
The downside to Maddison is he never moves at the speed Gareth Bale moved at, so we can't even there was one sprint he went on in the second half where he was blown out of his arse by the time he got halfway through the Everton half. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stu, you were going to say something now and we've jumped all over you.
No, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It wasn't important.
Sorry, mate. Oh, guilt.
Oh, right. Okay. I think we've spoken enough about diving cheats like James Maddison and Ben Godfrey. So we will move on to a topic outside of the Premier League at all, because we have a question from Wonanthi. I do not know how to pronounce that correctly. I'm sorry. But it says, there's a rumor of Barca selling Brazilian winger to Rafinha to Tottenham for 75 mil. Would love to hear your thoughts. I, as someone who watched a lot of him at Leeds, think he is certainly a football player. I think since he's been at Barcelona, I think he's shown both why he could be an attractive option for us and why I think we should look elsewhere. Because he has the things that we need, but not at the level that I think we need them. I think he's more, he kind of is like a jack of all trades, master of none. So like he's like okay at dribbling. He can beat a man sometimes, but if you have a good enough defender or you put a second man on him, he's usually not gonna get around. He's okay at crossing. He provides a decent number of assists, and he's okay at shooting. But honestly, for what we have, especially if we have Son on the left and Richie in the middle, I would really rather, if we do go for someone on the right wing, because that's where his predominant position is, I would rather look for someone who is one of the best in the world, specifically at crossing the ball, because I think that's probably our big weakness coming down the left. And I think if you have, right now our only crossing threat for lifted balls at least is Porro, and I think if we can get one other player who is a threat to provide one of those just Perisic like crosses, such a shame that he got injured because I think we really could have used him at the ends of games, and honestly even earlier than that sometimes. But someone who can provide a Perisic like cross on the right or the left, I think is what we really need to be looking for, especially because, like I said, we have two apparently really good goal scoring threats in Son and Richarlison. That apparently was referring more to Richarlison than Son, obviously. But I don't know. Have any of you guys watched him? Anyone have a different opinion?
He has got an Enya on the end of his name, which is a 20 mil excess, isn't it?
Church.
I think we need an Enya in the team. So I would go all out for him. I'd pay 90 for the Enya.
Okay, so what if we just tell him to call himself Raf? Do we get it for 50?
25.
Okay.
He's never been particularly prolific. Looking at his stats, his best season was second at Leeds. At Barca, where with all the problems that they're having, they're still so much better than the rest of the teams in the league, and he hasn't got stats that really jump off the page. I just think 75 million. Nah, let's find someone else who's a bit more of a nugget that Ange can find and bring them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're spending 75 mil on a player, I think that you need to be looking for someone who will instantly step in and like become. I mean, maybe this is just me thinking of old transfer window value instead of current, but to me, a 75 mil player is basically becoming not necessarily your talisman, but is one of your star players, and I don't think Rafinha would necessarily be that for us.
Like Mudryk, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Like Mudryk at Chelsea. That's just 75, 80 million. Yeah.
We want to aim
good point, Dave.
We need to aim for Mudryk at Chelsea. That's the ceiling of what we should be looking for 100 mil.
Surely, what was the name of that lad that Arsenal got for 75 million? Pepe, was it?
Nicola Pepe? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of level we're looking for.
Imagine what they would have paid if it was Pepinha. Huh?
Nearly 100.
That would have broken the transfer record for that one.
Oh, dear. He's
all right.
Is he physically? He's quite small, isn't he? As well, Rafinha.
He's definitely not the
5'9".
Yeah, he's not a physical player.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I still think that for as much as I think that Johnson has not produced this season, I think that there's still obviously a player there.
Yeah. Loads of a player there, mate.
Yeah,
I think he just needs to get out of his own head, and I think that's something that's just going to come with time.
Yeah.
I think he's in the team way earlier than what Ange would ever have had him in the team as a regular starter right now because of the circumstance. I think some of the touches that he shows, the way that he controls the ball when it comes down over his shoulder, his pace. Listen, there is a massive player in there. Give him another season, and when he's 23, 24 and flying, we'll be thinking, what were we talking about? I tell you what, he's got something about him.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think he just needs to be given some confidence and get sent to the Sun and apparently Richarlison School of Finishing. I don't think a sentence I never thought I'd say at the beginning of the season. Go to the Richarlison School of Finishing. But his touches are beautiful. His first touch is beautiful. His pace is wonderful.
In Sonny's first season at Spurs, I remember obviously that was the season which Leicester won the title. And we, the last game of the season is that horrific Newcastle 5-1, wasn't it? 5-1 or 5-0?
Yeah.
And I remember, I guess I was incredibly apoplectic watching the game, but watching Sonny in particular, I remember saying, we need to get rid of him. And he's absolute shit. Look at this attitude. And I guess a lot of the players' attitudes that day were particularly loathsome. But even Sonny, on occasions at the beginning of his career, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I really wasn't that sold on him at the beginning. And obviously, he's probably most Spurs fans' favourite player. He's definitely mine, and he's our captain now. He's, so yeah, I'm not saying that Johnson's going to end up the next Sonny, but absolutely way too early to be writing people off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you never know. I mean, he came from a system at Nottingham Forest, which is almost the polar opposite of the system that we play as well. So he's been asked to do a very, very different job in most of his career at Forest. It takes time. And again, how old is he? 21?
22, I think.
Yeah.
22?
22.
Listen, he's been in the side for 10 games, really. 10, 15 games. I mean, we all let this short-termism, haven't we? This some of it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement. Just give the guy some time.
Yeah.
Like he's either a player will be in there or it won't be, but you're not going to get a player out of him by calling him shit on Twitter after every game, because there's only one thing that'll do, and that is shoot someone's confidence to bits.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mention, I think, our last question, which isn't really a question we've talked about ad nauseum, but Vaz, the Spurs guy, asks why we think our defense has struggled in set pieces. And he says the fix needs to be simple: put another defender to protect Vicario. And I think you're spot on. I think it doesn't necessarily even need to be a defender. It just needs to be someone annoying, like Mope did against City, to bring that up for like the 10th time. Just go and make whoever's life is, whoever's trying to guard Vicario, whoever's trying to foul Vicario, I'm going to call it like it is, make sure that the referee cannot allow the corner to happen until they move. Scrap with them, get yourself in between them, push them into the goal, I don't care. Do something to make sure that defender starts the corner kick off of Vicario. And then problem solved. Like,
as long as that player is not Romero, because then it will be given as a penalty.
Well, I said annoying, not aggressive.
Not lethal.
Send Pedro. I'm just
Romero stood there with a chair leg and a pool of blood. I didn't even touch him, ref. What's going on?
Somewhat, almost. Romero has done some stuff in the box that has been a little bit, I'll say, extra legal and not been called for it. Shout out to Mark Cucurella.
Bit sketchy, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So, maybe it is Romero. We just get Romero to go and yank someone's hair every time they go up to Vicario. We just need to hope that whoever they send up there isn't bald. Then that's the next evolution.
See,
okay,
one step ahead, boys.
Johnny would be our kryptonite.
I would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing he's on our side.
Yeah, totally. Especially with my turnip pace.
Slower than you look, son. You're slower than you look.
Exactly.
All right. I think that's all the questions, and I think that we've talked enough about a draw. Probably more than I would have liked to be honest. So we'll go ahead to our next game, which is not Brentford. Why can no one remember the game correctly? It's Brighton. It's Brighton. We're playing Brighton. We already played Brentford. Thank God that's over. We're playing Brighton. Last game against Brighton did not go so well, but I think we had what may have been my most carefree, fun moments of the entire season in those last 10 minutes. Because, man, we just kind of... We went from being completely just under the cosh to just creating a goal-scoring opportunity every... It felt like 15, 30 seconds. So... Which, I mean, obviously is partially due to them dropping off and trying to hold on to a lead, which is never... Which works when it works, but, I don't know. Anyone, I'll start with you, Stu. How are you feeling about the game? What do you think? Do you think Son's going to be back? Because I know he obviously lost today to Jordan, so he'll be heading home soon. Do you think he'll be match fit? Do you think we'll see any other changes to the starting 11?
I think Son will be on the bench. I don't think he'll walk straight back in the side. Also because I saw today he had some strapping on his knee and his thigh, which is a little worrying. And we all know that, he goes beyond when it comes to South Korea. So he probably was playing through pain. So I don't think we want to rush him back if there's anything there, because we need him for the rest of the run-in. When it comes to the side, I mean, who knows with Ange? I mean, he seems to be chopping and changing quite a bit. Starts, Højbjerg one game, skip the next. Starts Johnson one game, Kulu the next. The only thing I think we're pretty certain on is Werner will start on the left. Richie in the middle. Madison will start, and then the back five is sorted. And then in the middle, who knows? Because I would hope that Sarr walks straight back into the starting 11.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Basuma, it depends, because he wasn't even playing all the minutes for Mali because of the malaria issue. And apparently he also picked up a knock. So there again depends how fully fit he is when he comes on. So I think it's going to be a mixed bag of what's actually going to line up for us. And when it comes to Brighton, I mean, I was looking at the results, and you don't know what they're going to get, because they go from thrashing, Sheffield, to then losing to Luton, to then thrashing and losing badly to Luton, and then thrashing Palace. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I saw the last 4 away games, they haven't won any. 2 wins, 2 draws. Abby, 2 losses, 2 draws. So in theory,
it makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. So in theory, their away record's poor. Our home record is good. Our recent home form has been good. So is it a moment for Dr. Tottenham, or is this a new Spurs? And have all the players come back in time for us to start, our run in of, 15 games to the end of the season when we win them all and we win the title?
Yeah, we'll just be Manchester City. Speaking of Dr. Tottenham or a new Tottenham, there is actually one question that I skipped over. It's from STZ024 on YouTube, and he asks, what do you think is more likely to occur, I guess? Tottenham's recent history as a club or Ange's recent history as a manager, which I think is basically saying, are we going to go back to being Spursy, or is Ange going to turn the corner with us? And to that I'd say, I don't think we've been Spursy for a while, to be honest. I think Tottenham's recent history as a club has been due to us having terribly negative managers who kind of hate being here. And I don't think Ange is either of those things. So, yeah, I think that of the two, I think that it's definitely more likely that we kick on and kind of have the success that we've seen everywhere else with Ange. Obviously it probably won't happen this season, because City's probably not going to lose another game for the rest of the season, because that's just kind of how this stuff works. You have a fun first 20 games, and then City wins the league, which is, whatever. But I mean, I think as like let's be honest here. If you think back to the end of last season, even up to the start of this season, our expectation was Europa League, maybe. We were honestly like we would finish 8th again if we saw that we were going in a positive direction. And now we're like, we're not gonna get top 3. This is disappointing, and that just, I think, shows how much we're on the right. We still might get top 3, but like currently we're not in the top 3. It shows how much we're on the right track already. And I think that with the signings that we've made and the signings that it looks like we're going to continue to make, I think that it just shows that we're going to continue to be moving in a positive direction. And to phrase it like you asked the question, repeat Ange's history as a manager. So that aside, because I don't want to miss any questions, we will go to Sai, because you were the one who spoke last, because you said yep. What do you think about the Brighton game? Anything to add on to what Stu said?
Anything, right? I think if you look at their last 4 wins, okay, I'll give you that 2 of them were FA Cup, but they've scored 17 goals in their last 4 victories. But they've let in 7 in 4 games, so it shows that they can let goals in. But they are going to be. I think you'll find that the 2 fullback positions, like they have done in a lot of games this season, where we push on and we invert. There is some big gaps there, and we do leave those. I don't know what a ninth of a pitch is, but that area of the pitch in that top third, those 2 areas in our back third, do get exposed somewhat. And for that reason, I think you'll see Sarr start. I think he was on the bench just because of the timing of him coming back rather than anything else. I think the bigger question is whether he goes with Sarr and Højbjerg or Bentancur and Sarr, because I think Bentancur has had a bit of a rough ride the last couple of games. He got hooked at half time in the game before Everton, I think, didn't he? And he looked a little bit not match sharp, I think, against Everton. So I don't know where that sits. I don't think Basuma goes straight back in. I don't think Sarr goes straight back in. I think the question is then Kulusevski or Johnson on the right. I think Brighton will come at us. Maybe that's better for Johnson. But what we've got to do though is, like we didn't do against City, was Werner and Johnson were making some good runs against City, and we just couldn't find them. Now that's largely because City were closing us. The press was so robust and so strong against City, but we've got to find a way. And with Maddison back in the side, maybe Maddison's the key to that, to finding those cross-field balls into those channels, because I think that could be a big challenge. I mean, Brighton's central defenders are not great. Dunk's a good player, but he's not that fast, and I think that we can exploit that. Get those guys to the byline, cutting back for Richie to finish. Give him those finishes now on that, the penalty spot and the one against Everton was. I thought the keeper was at fault at first, but then when I saw the replay, Richie was so quick with the shot. It's a tap and hardly any backlift, and I think it took the keeper by surprise. So get him into those sorts of positions. I think it could be anything, but it could be another. We could get beat 4-2 again. I don't think we will, but it's going to be one of those. I think Brighton's going to be a side with us where we're both going to go at it hammer and tongs, and it could be anything. I'm clearly going to go for a Spurs win, obviously, but I think it could be a really exciting game with a lot of heart in mouth moments, I reckon.
I'll echo that sentiment. Johnny, you got anything to add?
Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I think I agree with what you guys have just said. I think they've got some very good players, very technically accomplished, and it should be quite an entertaining game. I do see quite a lot of goals in it. I hope that we do see a bit more kind of flow from Maddison now that he's kind of getting back a little, 2 or 3 games now. But it's funny because Bentancur kind of came in and was almost hit the ground running, and then he's hit a little bit of stalled, which is kind of what you would have expected in the first place. So I definitely would like to see him, if he's going to play coming off the bench. I'd love to see Sonny coming off the bench, even if it's like a 10-minute, 5-minute job, just to have him back. So, and obviously Sarr, definitely would like to see Sarr starting. So, I mean, there are these players are coming back, but there's still like these fellas that just don't know how to be fit. Well, I mean, like Solomon's seems to have been talked about for ages. Sessegnon, did he get another injury or something? And then there's bloody Lo Celso. According to the injury table website, it says 25% chance, but like these guys are just like taking the absolute you know what with their wages. I'm sorry, especially Sessegnon.
Is it me, or does it feel like there's something else going on with Lo Celso?
Yeah,
it's not really clear what the injury is either. They've been very non-committal on what that injury is as well.
That's true. Solomon did mention that he had a setback in recovery.
Right. Okay.
Sess, he again came back, played 5 minutes, and then did something again. And Lo Celso's always injured.
He's just made of crisps, isn't he? He's never going to be 100% fit.
Shame, but
and seeing Højbjerg start the other day, I was disappointed, to be honest. I know he came off the bench and did quite well against Brentford, but like Skippy did really well in the first half against Brentford. I would have preferred to see Skip if you have to pick one of those two. Maddison, Sarr, and Skip. I don't know. It doesn't exactly fill me with massive confidence, but yeah, they're going to be good. I do, and I think Si's right. I think it could go either way. But we're going for our 5th win in a row at home. In the league. So you gotta. We've been eking out the results at home. I haven't really played brilliantly at home since the Newcastle game. So we're due one. Maybe it's going to be Saturday. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
You're just hoping we can pay them back for.
Yeah, exactly.
The game absolute ass kicking we took away. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what everyone else has said, I won't say it too long, but I think that this is definitely a game where both managers are going to be looking to score, and I think therefore goals will probably be scored. I don't think Son will start. I agree. I think Son will start on the bench. At least I hope. I think Son will probably want to start. I think that's my only concern. Is Son will want to start. Son will start, and Son will get injured. But I think we probably will see Son at some point. I think back four remains unchanged. I think that we'll see. I don't know. It's so hard to figure out who's going to start in the midfield, especially because we don't know the extent of Bissouma's knock. Like if Bissouma if Bissouma's fit enough to play to start, I would probably start him, just because for as poorly as he played before he went on international break, I think that just having that player who's comfortable, like as comfortable on the ball as he is also like as like defensively like intense as he is, I think that's something that we've been missing for a while.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can kind of like piecemeal together from different players, but Bissouma just offers that package of things that is really convenient to have for Ange ball. I think Sarr will probably start. I think having a week back here.
Yeah.
I hope he'll start. Madison obviously starts. I think we'll probably see Kulusevski back in the side. I think he probably just didn't start because it was our third game in a week, and nobody can play that many minutes. I think we'll see Richarlison and Werner. I think that it'll be interesting to see how Brighton line up, because I know they've got a bunch of players. I think March, Matoma, and Enciso are all they're all injured, but I think they're all slated to come back soon. I don't know when any of them will come back. I've not been stalking the Brighton injury report, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that they all don't play because they're all good players, and it would be beneficial for us if they did. But yeah, okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start off the score predictions. I think we'll pay them back. I think we'll get a 4-2 win. I think we will have two more goals from Richarlison. I think we'll have a goal from Son off the bench, and I think we will, after all of our complaints over corners, I think we'll get a goal from a corner, and I think it'll be Van de Ven. All right, we will go to Sai next.
I'm going to go 3-2, very, very tight, 3-2, 2-1 down, 3-2 up. I think we'll look ropey first half. Could go in down first half, but I think a big rally in the second half. 3-2 Spurs.
All right, Johnny.
Yeah, that's my call as well. I'm saying 3-2 Tottenham because I always predict Tottenham to win pretty much. So, but yeah, he says with great confidence. I'm going to go with another goal for Richie as well because the man is unstoppable. I'm going to wishful thinking. I'm going to give Timo his first goal for the Lily Whites. And let's give...
back in the room, Johnny. Back in the room. Come on.
And I should give one to Johnson as well for the crack. Yeah, let's go. A double header from Brennan Johnson.
Ooh,
double.
So that means we're losing.
Oh dear. Yeah.
All right, Stu. Cap us off.
For 2-1, Richie's going to score to set us up. Then Brighton's going to get an equaliser with 5 minutes left. Everyone's going to be going, same old Spurs, late equaliser. And then James Maddison's going to score a winning free kick in injury time. 2-1 win.
After he bought it with a dive?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
After he bought it with a dive.
Great.
Classic James.
Yeah. Classic
All right.
James.
And with that, I think that's about everything we have for the podcast. So we'll end it with an up to Spurs.
Hang on a minute.
How are you, Spurs?
Did you not see the Sergio Reguilon?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Bombshell. It's like straight out of the Daily Star. His dad
I did not see this, actually.
His dad is Michael Owen.
But it wasn't actually him, though, was it?
I know. What? But that was unbelievable. That photograph, like that was his son in the photograph, wasn't it? It's crazy. It's really. I just love the reply, "Dad?" Question mark from Reggie. Class. You gotta check it out, Teach. Yeah, it's very good.
I will. And anyone who's listening who hasn't seen it, go check it out. All right,
man.
up the Spurs.
Go
Up
Spurs.
Spurs. Come on.